Today we're going to be talking about the Ryworx Omeme, and I got two on the same day, which is a funny and interesting story, which is basically just say I saw a good deal on one, and then I went for it, and then I saw a good deal on another, and then I went for it, and I'm probably going to sell whichever one I don't end up keeping. I also ended up getting another Titan, and this one just has much better tolerances than the one I have, so I'm going to do a handle swap, and that's going to be fun. So, the Ryworx Omeme, Ryworx is a Japanese bladesmith with no website, despite there being like 12 different like Omemes. You can't really get that information easily, which is frustrating. This one was anodized by MK Minecraft Chicken God, and it's like their party version. I know. He is like, sorry, it could have been brighter, but I was like lazy or whatever. But it still looks good. And he also, hi Kyo, I love you. He also has like made the etching on the blade nice and like it's easier to see. Maybe not in this lighting, but it is easier to see compared to this one where you can't see it as well. Anyways, this one is Omeme number 1, 69 out of 99, nice. And this one is Omeme number 2, 76 out of 99. Yeah, this one is it's much harder to see. You have to kind of squint for it. And I think this is maybe a stock color or a solid kind of like blurple. So the Omeme one is, I thought it was a sheep's foot at first, and then I looked at blade profiles and I thought it was Warncliffe. It's actually Seax, which is pronounced, according to Wikipedia,Aux, which is, I guess, the same namesake as the Saxons, Anglo-Saxon kind of those people. And this one allegedly is a Bowie, except I don't know about that. It's more like a clip point, and looking up different profiles, a Turkish clip point specifically. So I'm going to be honest, I don't really notice a difference between these two flipping wide. Wow, that's like the first. So upon further inspection, of course, right after I finished recording, it appears to me, I don't have a scale yet. Pay me coffee, and I can get a scale. But it seems to me that this one feels more neutral and a little lighter, and this one feels a little bit more handle bias and heavier in general, which is odd because I would have guessed that this one has more blade weight, and in fact, it might have more tip weight. It just feels, in general, like it doesn't fan as well. At least I feel like it still fans, and just not as well. This one I feel like fans a little better, and it just feels more neutral. Whoa, hello! I didn't mean to scrape blades. Yikes! It just feels a little bit more neutral. This one feels like it has more momentum going, and it just throws more weight either in the handle or the blade or both. Not sure. But this one definitely feels a little bit heavier, so my mistake at first for saying that it's just aesthetic. It's a little bit of flipping difference. It's still the same knife, but it does flip a little different. But I would say that, it still flips like smooth. This one is more neutral, and this one's closer to my preferences. The clip point. But theAux one it's 69. It's 69. And it has this cool ano. So, real fumble I've had. The Omeme is a titanium knife. Pretty middle of the road weight. It is sandwich. Has titanium spacers, it seems, and feels handle bias, but not like aggressively so. Just like normal handle bias. The one thing that might be confusing if you have the Omeme 1 with theAux blade is that this blade point has the tip of the blade towards the bite side. Oh, I got hair in my mouth. Which might be confusing if you're used to Tantos. So sometimes I'll want to flip like this and I'll get the, if I'm not careful, the ring of shame. Thankfully, neither of these are like too sharp. They're like medium sharp. But if I were to ever do doubles, I could dual wield Omemes. It's a bearings knife, but it doesn't like feel particularly bearing. Like I feel like the what's it called? The Talisong Z is like aggressively bearings feeling. This might be cage bearings or skiff bearings. I don't know. It's probably a higher quality of bearings. And it just feels very clean and smooth. People who hate bearing knives, I honestly just feel like sometimes the biggest thing I feel about bearing knives, especially for a knife that's like kind of this handle bias, is that it's just harder to fan because the gravity is pulling down the bearing knives more when you try and do fans. It's a sandwich knife, so sounds pretty standard. Seems like the blade 1, the Ryworx blade, is like maybe a little like higher pitched with its bounce. I honestly don't really have a strong preference. I like the aesthetic of this clip point more than I like the aesthetic of the Ryworx blade. These handles are like fun. It's like he described as party. And I guess he has other Balisongs that are more party colored, but because of how kind of muted these colors are, it looks more like camouflage, honestly. And yeah, these handles are comfortable. Titanium, you have a pretty straightforward milling pattern. It looks like an eye, honestly, but it's nice and smooth. It's not rough on my hands. And you have this middle pattern with like these 6 dots. You're not really holding it there often, but if you're gripping there, it's nice. And then you have the eye again, and then down here, alas, no jimping. The blade's not too heavy, thankfully, so I feel like when I'm like trying to... No jimping! So I feel like, when I'm trying to do tricks, it doesn't feel like I have to fight too hard, thankfully. But, a little bit of jimping goes a long way. I'm planning on getting my Hybel Valor jimped because it is a heavy boy. It's like 5.1 and feels good. But like with no jimping, that knife is easy to drop when you try to do ladders. This one, thankfully, is not as bad. I'll find the specs and I'll put it in the description. But essentially, this is a pretty good feeling knife. And I don't have very strong opinions about it. I feel like I didn't make a video on the Serpent Striker, but to me this is kind of like the Serpent Striker in the sense of like this is a perfectly fine flipper, and it's like a sandwich knife. In this case, this is bearings. I believe the Serpent Striker is bushings. Yeah, no, it's definitely bushings because I tried to do the fork blade, and the fork blade didn't flip that good in my opinion, and also didn't really sound like a tuning fork, so it was just kind of boring. I was like, alright, I'll just immediately put the live blade back on. So, yeah, I guess my opinion is this is a perfectly fine knife. I believe it retailed around like 300. And frankly, it seems that like the resale value is closer to 200. I will obviously try and part with this at a closer to the upper end of things, just because overhead. Oh, also, here's a fun thing. So the logo is actually on the opposite side. This is so hard to see. I'm sorry. So on the opposite side of the blade, you have the blade steel quality, the logo, and the production number, the serialized number. But on the side that you normally have the logo is the Chinese character Liu, I believe, is what I asked my mom. Liu? I said that. It's the one just before that, like real white sounding. Liu? That's Cantonese. And that word doesn't really mean anything by itself. It's kind of like it goes on to other words. I looked it up in Google Translate and it just said up, but that's just not really correct. And it's more like a suffix or something. It can be added to words. So my dad sent a couple of words. I can't pronounce them because I can't read Chinese because it's not an alphabet. I keep opening the wrong apps. But basically, Liu is Here, I can also play the recording from my mom.
Liu.
Oh God, Leo, Leo. But yeah, my mom said it's like finish and then finished, where you add the Leo at the end. My dad says there's two words where one of them was like Liu and then a second word and it means understand, and then Liu and then a second word and it becomes resolve an issue. So it's like a compound word, but it doesn't really mean anything by itself. And Ryworx is Japanese. I don't know if the kanji version means anything different compared to Chinese. I don't really think so. But that's just a fun random tidbit. I guess that makes sense that I put it closer towards the end of the video. In the end of at the day, the Omeme is a perfectly serviceable knife. I think anyone that hates on bearings ought to maybe give this one a try. Albeit it is handle biased, so you know, the Tally Z. Honestly, the Talisong Z is like more what you would expect, and that one is way more neutral, but way louder. Actually, these retail for the same price. And now that I think about it, the Tally Z is a $300 knife. Hi Kyo. It's a $300 knife, but it usually resells around $150 almost. Some people try and sell it for $210, but like I've seen some go as low as $150. And so I guess the Omeme is like a similar, but arguably better resale value than the Tally Z. I don't think that Omemes are necessarily being made anymore. It's really hard to tell what Ryworx is making because he doesn't have a website. And I've also tried to go through and see on various different websites if they had other Ryworx blades or like labeled, if it was like one versus, like allegedly one of them's a harpoon, but it looked like this really awkward looking trainer. And yeah, I don't know. So, Omemes have had several blade types. I have two of them, and whatever you prefer, I guess it's more aesthetic. I'm sure there's a slight difference between how they flip, but frankly, as a intermediate flipper, wow, I'm like, every time I try that trick, I just scrape up my, thankfully this knife's not that sharp, but I'm scraping up my middle finger knuckle. I gotta work on my wrist pass, gotta make them cleaner. But yeah, I guess that's about it. If you like this, like, comment, subscribe, check out my other videos. I do daily uploads. In my description is a link to my coffee. I cannot commit to a Patreon. I just don't have that capacity. But one donation of coffee is less than a month of Patreon, and it helps me cover knives. So if you like this content, please help support the channel. And with that, have a great rest of your day.